Good afternoon. I'm Bev Juday, and I'm from the Wild Rivers Film Festival. We're here to welcome you this afternoon to the Film Festival Radio, the official podcast of the Wild Rivers Film Festival on KCIW 100.7 FM. Today, I'd like to give a sponsor shout-out before we get started and thank the Wild Rivers Film Festival presenting sponsor for 2024, KDRV Newswatch 12 out of Medford, Oregon. Thank you so much for making this summer's festival a success. This year, the Wild Rivers Film Festival was brought to you in part by the Tallahwaddee Nation, Oregon Community Foundation, the Ford Family Foundation, Travel Curry Coast, the Roundhouse Foundation, and the City of Brookings. If you're interested in sponsoring the Wild Rivers Film Festival and our mission to celebrate indie cinema on the Wild Rivers coast, you can learn more on our website, wildriversfilmfestival.com. This morning, we're joining Michael Rainin, a director who has a film called Run, Raven, Run in the film festival this year. And Michael, why did you choose Run, Raven, Run? Why did you choose this project?
So I chose this film, Run, Raven, Run. It's a feature documentary on the history and music of the Roma people, the Romani people, also known as gypsies, but they themselves wanted me to call them gypsies, but it seems that there is a movement to that's derogatory and that to get away from that. So for this interview, we'll call them Roma and Romani. But it is towards the end of its festival cycle. It's been actually on the festival circuit for 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
And Dan Springen, the director of this Wild Rivers Film Festival, is also the director of the Orlando Film Festival. And he saw my film at the Sarasota Film Festival, almost a year ago, and programmed it for this festival. And I live, I grew up in Northern California and live in Los Angeles right now, but I drove up and gave me a good excuse to come up here and see the beautiful redwoods and the trees, and yeah.
We're glad you're here. We're glad you chose to join us.
The film, Run, Raven, Run, it was more a passion project. I had come out of an illness, a pretty serious illness, and needed to get back on my feet and wanted to do something that I've been wanting to do for, 30 years. When I started art directing and production designing for commercials and music videos way back when, 25 years ago, and then started producing and directing, I would use, photo books, and I still do, for inspiration for my mood boards and, for projects. And I collected photo books of Romani people. There's not many of them. There was this one, what's his name? Joseph Kudelka, who had the most famous photos, but there's only 20 or 30 of these photos. And this book is quite small, but it's amazing. I mean, it's in 1961. And I found a few others over the years, but then when I did this film, I found Jordi Oliver, who, and my editor and co-writer, Douglas Thompson, found him on the internet. And I did a deep dive with Jordi, and he's brilliant. We used, I think, 44 images of his in the film. And he followed the path, they came from Rajasthan originally, the Roma people, and then went northward through Afghanistan and Iran and up through Turkey, and then into Europe, and then they went everywhere, and they kind of absorb the music of the cultures that they pass through, and they adopt the music and absorb it into their own music. And the musicians are quite remarkable, really amazing ear. They can listen to something once and play it, and a lot of them are not, trained academically in music, but are, some of the best I've ever seen. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So how long did it take you to make this film with so much history in it?
Yeah, probably 3 years, three and a half. Yeah, going back and forth, and then the research and the editing. Yeah.
And you did the editing all yourself?
No, Douglas Thompson, who's an amazing editor, especially for documentaries. He also did a film with Jaimin Hansu and my good friend Kwaku Alston about voodoo, the religion of voodoo, because Jaimin's from Benin, and I met Kwaku, and I are creative partners and good friends, and I met Jaimin and Douglas when they were on the festival circuit with that project at the Miami Film Festival, and then I stole Douglas as my editor. I was joking.
Sounds like a good move.
Yeah, he's so good.
I'm Bev Jude, and I'm from the Wild Rivers Film Festival. Are you new to the film festival? If this is the first that you're hearing about us, we're so glad you're joining us today. The Wild Rivers Film Festival is a celebration of indie and local cinema that happens during the third week of every August in Brookings. Over the course of 4 days, we screen more than 24 films at 3 locations across the city. Many of our film screenings feature Q&A sessions from the visiting filmmakers, and our festival includes daily education panels, VIP parties, and a not-to-be-missed awards ceremony on the final day of the fest. Festival passes are on sale all year at thewildriversfilmfestival.com, and we can't wait to see you at our next festival. Well, I can't wait to see this particular film here at the film festival. What other projects have you done that kind of prepared you for a task like this?
Well, so I've done mainly narrative features and shorts and branding and, ads and music videos. But the other documentary that I did was, I produced it actually for Kwaku. Kwaku Alston was a co-director, and Glenn Wilson was the other co-director. Another really well-known set photographer in Hollywood, African-American gentleman. Both of them are Kwaku and Glenn. And I produced that, and it was on Spike Lee's The Five Bloods release for Netflix. So it was shooting with Spike and Emory Douglas, the revolutionary artist, for the Black Panther movement. So he was the gentleman who did the iconic fist image, and also the first Black Panther image. And Spike Lee looks up to him greatly, because he created the iconography of Black culture. Really, the modern day iconography came from people like him, and so Spike really looks up to him. So it was a really great 2 days. Yeah.
So it sounds like you really like studying the culture of people. That seems to draw you.
Yeah, for sure.
Did that happen at an early age, or was it something later in your life that you kind of started feeling a passion for?
No, yeah, I've always had an interest in the unknown and kind of uncover, lifting up rocks to look underneath them, kind of thing. Like I studied Islamic history in college, and because I loved history, but I'd learned so much American and European history growing up in high school that when I got into college, I was like, I want to know about other things that I don't know about.
That's exciting. So how did you go from having this interest and this passion to filmmaking? That's a big step, right?
Well, I mean, history is all about narrative, and so I just love storytelling. And, my mom's side of the family are all wards, from Ireland, from Dublin. So that was before that was anglicized, the bards, right? So the storytellers and musicians that traveled around Ireland. So Aka a bard and Maka a bard. So I think it comes, it's in my blood a little bit.
That's what it sounds like, comes natural to you.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to tell our audience about you?
Well, I've been directing quite a few R&B music videos recently. It's just funny. But I love it. It's fun, and get to flex your artistic muscles. So Eric Benet's releasing an album on August 23rd, a duets album. And I directed the 2 singles from that, one with Tamar Braxton that was released a few weeks ago that is doing very well, and then another one with Shantae Moore that'll be released in a few weeks. or maybe on the day of the 23rd. I'm not sure. But yeah, you can check those out.
I would love to. It sounds like you are so busy.
Trying to be.
You're busy because you're here with us. You've got this fabulous film. Where would you like your film to go? To as many people as possible, obviously. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best play for it would be like a Nat Geo, kind of Discovery Plus release, or HBO or a Netflix, Amazon. But we'll see. We'll see. We're not sure. It seems like since the Squid Game and things like that a lot of films with subtitles in other languages are being more, broadly accepted, which is great, so we can hear all the different stories are out there around the globe. So there's a lot of them that need to be told. And then also I find that as I get older that I want to make films that help people.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
important.
Notable and honorable desire in our society today. It's so tumultuous.
Right. In the Roma, they're very underrepresented in regards to civil rights, movement. I think that they're behind, they're, 50 years behind the African-American civil rights movement still, to this day. And so anything to help galvanize that and support that in any way, or at least teach people about their story.
Well, that's incredible. I wish we would have had some of your contacts to interview too. I'm sure the audience would love that.
Oh yeah, that would be so cool. The because a lot of people don't know that the Roma in Romania were enslaved for 800 years, and then slavery was abolished about 10 years before African Americans in the U.S. I think either before or after, but I think before. And so there's a parallel there historically that the people got pushed to the outskirts of mainstream society in regards to trying to generate revenue for their families. So music, entertainment, sports, things like that. It gets
And they've kept their culture from hundreds and hundreds of years through storytelling.
Through music and storytelling through music for sure. And that's where the title "Run Raven Run" is actually lyrics out of a very old Roma song that Unița from Clejani, who's quite famous in Romania, him and his wife Viorica and their daughter Margarita and son Fulgi. And I love Fulgi, actually. He's so cool. But they come from this village called Clejani, and back in noble times in Romania, your wealth was based upon how many gypsy musicians you owned, right? And so once that nobility in that area broke down over hundreds of years or over the millennia, the nobility aren't there anymore, but there's musicians, a lot of them in this town, in this village of Clejani, out in the middle of nowhere, an hour outside of Bucharest. There's fields, and then there's this village full of musicians because they're the lineage of the slaves that were living there. So it's so interesting.
That is, it's fascinating, really.
Yeah, another village that we visited and filmed, Zece Perjini, which is out near the border of Moldavia. And there as well, you have a really high proportion of horn players because of another thing like this, the nobility. That is a different circumstance. That was given by the government to the Roma, this Roma community. But I'm not sure why. Well, I think it's because I'm not sure the exact reasons why there's so many horn players there, but there are. There's a big fanfare, which is a big horn band there that I filmed with that's quite famous. Ovidio Lipan Tandarica did a whole bunch of albums with them, and was from a band Phoenix that is like the Led Zeppelin of Eastern Europe. He was the drummer. So he was from that region, and he found this horn band and did all these albums that did quite well globally. But when you go there, you see all these horn players and these kids with these beat up horns, that have been, it came from like they came from World War II.
My.
Yeah, so they're all patched up and all the instruments.
It sounds like your documentary, you've poured your heart into it.
Yeah, this one I did, yeah.
And so many years of time. And when you do that kind of focus, is it steady, intense focus, or is it something that you do for a week and then you have to take some breaks?
No, pretty steady. This one was pretty steady. It was during the pandemic too, all the editing and all the research. So, yeah.
And did you do this in other countries? Or did you do it primarily from your home?
Well, primarily from the home, but then, traveled back and forth to Romania primarily.
That must have been challenging at that time.
Yeah, filmed with Pee-wee Ellis, the horn player for Van Morrison, and James Brown, filmed with him in Petaluma at a jam session with a lot of Santana's band members, and then they played a gig at Yoshi's that I filmed. That's in the film as well, talking about the parallels between African-American musicians, and their experience, and also Romani, musicians in Romania.
It's fascinating to me how you found this passion for actually both industries, it sounds like, capturing on film and also in music. And you blended the two.
Yeah, music films. Yeah, I love music. Yeah, and I'm a musician. So for me, though, it's the music part's just medicine. It's not money, but film is money to me. So, I make a living with film. With music, I just do it because I love it. But a lot of my friends who are professional musicians, they get burnt out on it. And it's not medicine for them anymore. Just too bad because it's such a medicine.
It makes sense. And I can see how you dovetailed those so easily with your background and the passion that you have. Thank you so much for sharing so many details. We appreciate that, and I hope our listeners are excited to see your documentary as we are to show it. And so for our younger audience who's listening to this, how did you get your work, and how do you suggest they get their work into the hands of people who can help them promote it?
Well, I think if you make something good enough, it will do well on the festival circuit, if it's good enough. And it's hard to make things really, really good.
I bet.
But
you did it.
Well, this one's, it's pretty good, but it's not perfect, that's for sure. I don't know. Just gotta, try and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. And what is your next goal? Do you have a goal for your
next goal? Have another feature doc with a good friend, Toxic, Torika Black, who grew up with Jean-Michel Basquiat, and he's living in Brittany now. Was in Italy for the last 20 years, and we've been close for 30 years. And he to kind of tell the story of the Hollywood Africans, the famous painting at the Whitney of Jean-Michel Basquiat, Ramelzy, and Tox. And so it's kind of called tentatively The Last Living Hollywood African, and then shooting some feature films, narratives. So that's the goal, and shoot a few more music videos in the short term. And yeah.
All exciting.
Yeah.
And I hope that we see you here next year and you can talk about the start of a new project.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you, too.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this episode of Wild Rivers Film Radio. If you want to learn more about the festival, buy passes, volunteer for us, or even sign up for a sponsorship, you can learn more and get connected at thewildriversfilmfestival.com. You can also find the festival on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, Tom and KCIW, for providing the radio station for this event for us. And thank you, Kat Liddell, for all your edits. We appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.